And he's also manages to write all these incredible stories, which is also what we're going to talk about this morning. It's a new article out that reveals how Facebook navigated one of its most tumultuous periods. Wired's cover story for May, 15 months of fresh hell inside Facebook, includes interviews with 65 current and former employees of the social media giant. They discuss controversies involving the misuse of personal data and the design of the newsfeed. The article also explains why Instagram's co-founders left the company 6 years after Facebook acquired the site. Wired's editor-in-chief and CBS News contributor Nick Thompson co-wrote the story, and he's here after running the Boston Marathon.
Yeah. Good morning.
Nick, thank you so much. So what were these last 15 months of fresh hell like for Facebook?
They were chaotic, they were crazy, they were intense. It was a period where Facebook lost the public's trust, they lost the media's trust, and a whole bunch of things that they had done in the past came back to haunt them. So it was a very difficult period for them.
Describe what was at the heart of this. Essentially, internal conflict about how to address what was a public relations disaster based on some problems within Facebook.
Yes, exactly. So what happened with Facebook is they prioritized growth over all other values for most of their existence. That meant there were a bunch of bad deals, there was a bunch of data leakage, there was a bunch of stuff that came back to hit them as the public's trust of technology companies changed. At the same time, they have a bunch of contradictory problems that are almost impossible to solve. They need to increase privacy. They need to increase safety. They need to clean up newsfeed. And some of these things conflict. When you increase privacy, you make it harder to clean up newsfeed. So they were totally struggling with that.
And at the heart of this is Cambridge Analytica. Remind everybody what happened there.
Cambridge Analytica is the shady British consulting firm that works a little bit with the Donald Trump campaign. And a story blows up last March or April saying that data from Facebook had ended up in their hands and may have helped influence the election. And people go crazy and are furious at Facebook.
Nick, can you put into two baskets, or maybe there are more, the problems at Facebook? One is bad decisions made when faced with challenges. The other is they just happen to be this behemoth that is going through the changes in the news cycle and the way we take information that may not be their fault. It's just they are the ones who are the one we all know. Is it possible to distinguish the mistakes that way?
Yeah, I mean, so part of the problem is that they are a new communications platform. And every new communications platform has all kinds of massive problems. And when they started, they weren't prepared to handle that. They didn't know how to handle fake news. They didn't know how to handle misinformation. They didn't understand the ecosystem they were building. They just weren't set up at all for that. So suddenly all those problems are visited upon them. Meanwhile, they've got all these issues with privacy, manipulation, the weaponization of their platform. They're not set up to deal with that at all. And then when crises hit, they handle them the wrong way. So they have an impossible platform, huge problems, and crises that they're not handling right. Tough year.
Very tough year. I was very fascinated about the backstory of Instagram.
Yes.
I love all things Instagram. And it was kind of a shockaroo when Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger left.
Yeah.
And you take us behind the scenes about that decision. What happened?
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest scoops in the story. Is, we talked to 65 people. There's a lot of new information in this piece. Fred Vogelstein, my co-writer, and I spent a lot of time on this. What happened with Instagram is that there was a little bit of tension, perhaps jealousy, between Facebook senior management and Instagram senior management.
Jealousy?
And it looked like Instagram, the data showed that Instagram is growing faster than core Facebook, the Blue app. And it looked like it may have, in fact, been cannibalizing the Blue app's users because they were leaving for Instagram. And so tensions start to mount between the two. There's some policy changes that Instagram doesn't really like. And then in July and August of 2018, Mark Zuckerberg meets with Kevin Systrom, one of the founders of Instagram, and says, well, there are all these ways that Facebook supports Instagram, and we're not going to do this anymore. And then Systrom posts a message about that inside of Instagram saying, well, Zuckerberg has said that all these supports for Instagram, sort of link backs on Facebook, driving people to Instagram,
and
that's all going away.
Yeah, that caused problems.
That causes huge problems. Systrom goes away on paternity leave, he comes back, and then he and his co-founder say, we're done. And in some ways, if someone overheard the conversation, Systrom was saying, I feel like Mark is treating me the way that Trump is treating Jeff Sessions, making life miserable so he leaves because he knows he politically can't fire him.
How do you describe the culture of Facebook today?
Yeah,
we sit here today.
They are working hard to solve their problems.
They've acknowledged their mistakes.
They've acknowledged the mistakes. They know they're under siege. They are hiring tens of thousands of people to try to clean up the platform. They are shifting policies. They are thinking, and yet scandals keep popping up. Every day there's something new, and it's often, as we say, it's like an unexploded landmine that was planted 10 years ago that blows up on them.
Well, it certainly is a well-researched article. I'm fascinated by how you got people to talk to you.
Well, we went to them and we said, we're going to do a tough story, we're going to do an in-depth story, But we're going to check every fact with you, and we're going to do our damnedest to make sure everything is right. So we called and we worked for weeks with Facebook saying, this is all that we've learned. And they can say, that's not true, and we deal with it, or they say, that is true, and there we go.
Well, they certainly engaged with you. Thank you, Nick Thompson.
Thank
you.
And congrats.
No false news in Wired reporting about the fake news that's being spread on Facebook.
Absolutely
Thank
not.
you.
Thank you, Nick.